Hello everyone, this is Sarah. I'm back with my next lesson. So it's 8-2 and we're still talking about ellipses. I hope after watching first video about ellipses, you have some idea about ellipses, their equation, and all of those vocab terms. So if you don't, please, I really recommend you watching those two videos again, because today's lesson is totally based off those vocab terms. You really have to know, you needed to know what a major axis is, what's a minor axis, what do we call those endpoints, because today those questions going to be totally based off those vocab terms, all right? So get ready, buckle up. So here comes the first example. So I have my major axis endpoints, which we call vertices. I have plus and minus 8, 0, and my minor axis, which we call co-vertices, are at 0, plus and minus 5. That's all I know. And my question to you guys is to find the equation of this ellipse. How do we do that? Now, I know your textbook is actually doing slightly different. They actually switch x and y, but please do not do that, because later on, once we're going to get to hyperbola, you guys are going to get confused, all right? So what I would recommend you doing is just put x and y like this and just switch A and B, depends on your major axis. A always going to be under your major axis. Okay, so first of all, I want you to label the information we know. If I say major axis, is that A, B, or C? Again, you really needed to understand those three letters. So A, endpoints of the bigger one. So if I say major axis, that's letter A. When I say minor axis, is that A, B, or C? It's B this time. So you already have A and B, but how to put those numbers in the equation? For that, I really recommend you graphing, because if you actually plot those points, you could actually see that happening on the graph. Trust me, and it would, once you visualize that, it would be easier for you to understand the equation later on, okay? First one, if I plot my major axis, plus and minus 8, so 8 here, negative 8 here. So by plotting major axis points, I know the bigger number definitely going to be under x-axis, because my major axis is x-axis. Okay, and what number would go under? Remember, we don't take the entire length. We just look at one sided, how far the center point is to this number here. So we have 8 units. So basically, it's just looking at the radius for that whole axis. So the radius is 8, and then later on, it's a square. It would be 8 square. I'm just going to simplify in the next step. This is what I have for my first part. Second one, it's minor axis, which is on the y. You can even plot first. So I have 5. And I have negative 5. And remember, minor axis is always smaller than the other one. So that number would go under y, because that 5 goes on the y-axis. So again, we just look at one side, it's 5 and square. So this is going to be, there you go, that's my answer, all set. So please, visualizing and labeling, I would say it's must to understand the whole process, okay? All right, so here comes next example. I have my minor axis or endpoint at plus and minus 3, 0. And I know my major axis. I don't have the endpoints this time. The only thing I know is the major axis is 22 units long, or the length is 22 units. That's all I know. Now I need to write down the equation. So I'm just going to follow the same strategy I did before. So let's label A, B, and C. Minor axis, is that A, B, or C? All right, it's B. Major axis, it's A value, okay? I would plot, or I'll just start off with putting stuff down. And trust me, if you actually try going slow, just keep finding details and try adjusting in the equation. That would help, trust me. Okay, I have x squared, I have y squared. I just have to get A and B, and then I'll just put it under each one. Okay. In order to decide what number would go under what, okay, so let's plot. If I say minor axis, let's plot those points. So minor axis, It's plus and minus 3, it's negative 3 here, positive 3 here. So I know minor axis is x-axis. So the smaller number would go under x, and the major axis number would go under y this time. So it's going to be 3, and 3 squared would be 9. So almost done. I would say I'm 75% done with this equation. I just have to solve for the other number. Please pay attention. I said 22 units long. So the entire distance, this time I'm not talking about the end point. The entire length of the other axis is 22 units. But try recalling, we do not look at the entire distance. We just look at one-sided, right? Basically, the 22 units, if I go from here to here, and if this makes 22 units, what's going to be one-sided length? It's just half of that. So I would say the other number would be 11. And that's what you need to put it under y. So 11 square, so 121 is your answer. And here you go, done. So please try going slow. Try adjusting those numbers in the equation. That would help, okay? I have 2 more. Next one. If I say my major axis is x-axis, it's already telling you it's x-axis. And it's 10 units long. And my minor axis is 6 units long. That's all. Since it's already telling you your major axis is the x-axis, but okay, how do we write the equation? First thing, I would put x squared, I would put y squared, and you know it's always equal to 1. Now we need to put numbers under. So 10 units is the entire length. What's one-way distance? Just take half of that and then square. So your a value going to be 5, and square would be 25. Your minor axis 6 is the entire length. What's half of that? It's going to be 3 and square. So that's my equation. Here you go. All right, here comes the last one. Slowly and steady, getting there. So the last one I have is, this time it tells you the foci point. So foci is plus and minus 5, 0. And the minor axis length is 12 units long. So minor axis is 12 units long. Foci is plus and minus 5, 0. Again, first thing I would label A, B, and C. Foci, try recalling. What is that? Is that A, B, or C? It's C. Minor axis, it's B. So normally, in order to write down the equation, you have to have A and B both. And then we square, right? But this time, But this time A is missing. So that's where you have to use the other equation, that C squared equation, to solve for A, okay? But first, let's try plotting because we still have to figure out a lot of stuff. So we already know foci, we already know minor axis. Let's plot. Try recalling. Where do we put foci? Does it go on major axis or does it go on the minor axis? Try recalling. So foci always, it goes on the major axis. So let's plot. So it's 5, and so after plotting foci, I know my major axis is definitely going to be x because foci goes on major axis. Okay, so I would have x squared plus y squared. It's equal to 1. I already know foci is on the x-axis, so bigger number, which is a, would go under x. Right now, I'm just going to put a squared because even though it's missing, I'm just going to say a squared. What about the other number? So other number, which is my minor axis, I have 12 units on that, total 12. But do we take 12? No, we take half because we do not take entire distance. Half of 12 is 6. It's a square. So I already know this is going to be 36. Okay, but that's not all. We still have to find our A value. That's where you have to go back to C equation. Plug everything in. What's C number? C, it goes 5 distance, 5 units both ways. So it would be 5 squared, 25. A is missing. B is 6, 36. Solve for A squared. So add 36. A squared is 61. I can take square root and solve for A, but what do we need for the equation? Do we need A or do we need A squared? We need A squared, so there's no need to take square root and then squaring later on, right? So I would just keep this one as it is, and I would replace this in my original equation. So what's the number? 61. Oops, my bad. 61. And here you go. So this is going to be my equation. So something like this you'll see on your homework assignment. I tried to review all different type of problems you will see on that. So if you still need help, please comment and I'll just answer your question. So thank you guys. Thank you for watching. Bye bye. Stay safe.